All right. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. My name is Jason Levine, and welcome to day 3 of the Premiere Pro Daily Creative Challenge here on Adobe Live. So cool to be the first week that we're introducing the DCC for video. Now, today we're coming to you live, of course, on behance.net/Adobe Live, as well as the After Effects Facebook page and Twitter Periscope. So I want to encourage all of you in the other social networks there to come join me over at behance.net/Adobe Live, because that is the chat that I will be monitoring for the DCC. Now, I've got a lot of stuff that we want to cover today. I want to also remind all of you that if you want to get started and get set up with this, behance.net/challenge/premiere. And once you sign up for the challenge, you will also want to join the Discord. The Discord is where the conversation is happening. This is also an incredible community that we've cultivated in about 3 days so far, going from a little over 100 members on Monday to well over 500 today. Actually, it may be over that now. I haven't checked the Discord today yet. This is really where you want to be to carry on the conversation, to get inspired by your peers, by people who are doing similar things, and it's amazing. I've been amazed at the amount of incredible submissions we've had already. So much cool stuff coming in over the last few days with these challenges. Now, when you create your stuff, I want to remind you, of course, also to use the hashtag Premiere Daily Creative Challenge. So hashtag Premiere Daily Creative Challenge. This is how you can tag your stuff, whether you're posting it to Instagram to share, or Twitter, or YouTube, or Vimeo, and then sharing inside of the Discord. The key is you want to be able to share it in Discord, because that's where I'll be reading all of your submissions and being able to give you feedback, as well as all the additional community members. Okay, so today's challenge is focusing on color. And we're going to look at a couple of the different modules inside of the Lumetri color panel in Premiere Pro. And I provided you with a whole series of random shots that I've taken around the world, and going to show you really how easy it is. The amazing thing about this is that if you've ever used Photoshop's Camera Raw, or if you're a Lightroom user, the basic functionality of working with color in Premiere Pro is going to be extremely familiar to you. So we're really going to start there. And then if we have a little time at the end, I want to show you just a couple of the awesome submissions from yesterday, at least one. I've been amazed by the amount of creativity that everyone's coming up with. Yesterday, we had some very random footage. Today, again, kind of a random mishmash of different landscape style videos that I've shot in various locales around the globe. So hope you enjoy playing with that. And remember, of course, to join that Discord as well. Okay, so let me go ahead and move over to my machine. Oh, just want to say a couple of hellos, of course. First, what's up, Paula O'Brien? What's up, Valdair? Derek Laurie, nice to see you. Steve, as always, great to see you from New Zealand. Chris Vanazlen, great to see you as well. Muller Kai, Mike Duval, Eric Crosby, Pepe Esqueredo. All right, Quinn Stevenson, hey, what's up? Cecilia Champay. Amir Carr, great to see you again. Marilyn Grant, what is up, Howard? Fellow colleague Howard, I believe he'll be back with the XD Creative Challenge later today. Stuart Gray, Daniel Bizzuto, Sean. Oh, we've got so many people coming from all over the world. Studio 4, Wacky Foreigner as well. AB Creation, Casper Hussein, Henry Gutierrez, Brian McDonald, Richard Wesley Newberry. Awesome. You got the notification. Yes. Bonjour, Carl from France. How are you doing? Miguel from Chicago. Marco from Chile. Ron Dean. All right. So everyone coming to us again over on Facebook, come over to behance.net/live or behance.net/challenge/premiere to get things started with the Premiere Pro Daily Creative Challenge. Okay. So hold on, let me go and switch over to my screen here. And wow, okay, so we've got 21 minutes now. Okay, so I'm gonna cover a couple of things that we covered on Monday as well, because there were a few questions about this in the Discord yesterday, just about importing the footage and downloading, importing the footage and then exporting the footage as well. So hold on, let me just switch back over one quick second here, because I want to, I just want to pull up the actual site again so that everybody can see it. Again, if you're needing the URL, here it is, behance.net/challenge/premiere. You will, take the challenge here. This tells you what you're going to do. You'll receive the challenge, community chat, watch the video, etc. Color adjustments. This is what you're going to do. You're going to get started. You're going to download the content. When you download that content, you're going to go inside of Premiere. Now, we're working in color, so you can choose the color workspace, which you'll find up here at the top of the UI under color. You can also perhaps see it in the workspace bar up at the top right here. I'm in the color workspace, although it is slightly modified for your screen for the stream. So yours may not look exactly like this, but it should be something fairly similar. And then from the project panel in Premiere Pro, now again, yours may be docked in a slightly different location. To import your content, simply double-click inside the available space, navigate to the folder where you downloaded your content, and here are all of the files, okay? So you can select all of them like this, however you want, Command-A, Control-A, click Import, and it will do just that. And these are the files that you'll see here. Now, they will typically come in what's considered the list view, which you can see this little icon at the bottom of the project panel here, the list view. This would look like this. But of course, I like for you to be able to see all the content front and center, so I switched over to the icon view. What's nice about this, of course, is that you can resize all of those icons. If you scrub over a clip and hover over it, this is called hover scrubbing. What's in a name? This will kind of show you, again, the entirety of the clip. If you click physically into the clip, you now have this playhead that you can grab and scroll around. And if you hit I and O, this will set your in and out points so that when you begin building a sequence with this content, now you've selected the region that you want to use, okay? If you want to do that directly from this first clip, you can simply right-click or control-click on it and choose New Sequence from Clip, and it will build a sequence for you. And then once you've done that, effectively, you can continue to drag other bits of content into that sequence, and again, begin kind of assembling the story that you're going to try and tell with this footage. All right, so let's get into it. So we're going to focus on the Lumetri color panel here. And we're going to really kind of, I'm going to focus on really three main areas here. There's about 6 different modules. We don't have time to cover all of them today, but this will give you kind of a basic primer of what you can do. Now, the first one we're going to start with here is called the basic correction panel. And if you're looking at this and you're going, wow, that does look pretty familiar. Got our white balance selector, temperature, tint, all these tone controls, even the order of the tone, they seems a lot like Lightroom. Well, in fact, the basic corrections panel is essentially the basics of the develop module in Lightroom CC, and in Photoshop Camera Raw. Case in point. Let's go over and just click over there for a second. Here we are. I'm in my Lightroom CC. You're taking a look here at my my scanned LP collection. All right. So if we go to one of these, let's go to this Uriah Heep one, which I happen to love, and we go into our color module here. Again, right at the top under light, exposure, contrast, highlight, shadow, white, black. Okay. This is the same thing you're seeing here. Exposure, contrast, highlight, shadow, white, black, and then HDR, specular if you're working in HDR, as well as your saturation, okay? Then beyond that, you have your white balance, all right, your tint, and then you've got some vibrance and saturation. Again, clicking back over to Premiere, white balance, temperature, and tint. And while you have saturation here, we're not going to talk about creative so much today. We'll go into it a little bit because we have presets in there. But under creative is where you will find vibrance. This is also where you will find sharpen. Be careful if you use that. An additional saturation, which you'll understand momentarily. And then we also have something in here called faded film, which will kind of give you that lower contrast film type aesthetic. And this can really work wonders on footage. It can also take the edge off a very digital, very crunchy looking, sometimes when you shoot stuff off of like any kind of drone or a GoPro or something, just stuff that's doing like high frame rate or like super fast shutter, things can look really, really crunchy. So a little bit of faded film adjustment on there kind of takes off that edge and makes it feel just a little bit more film-like. Entirely up to you. Use it if you like. Okay. So again, these are the basic controls. You know these. You've already messed around with them. So here I'm looking at this first shot. This one, what is this? This is called, Palms in the Summer. So this I shot here in the desert in Arizona, in my backyard. And, again, if I wanted to do a white balance on this, I can take my white balance selector, choose a cloud. It looks like it's pretty fairly balanced. Actually, it was a little bit off. We cooled things off a bit, adjusted the temperature and the tint, and now we're perfectly white balanced. Want to point out that at the top of Lumetri, you have a bypass. So here's the before. You can see a little bit warmer. Here's the after, a little bit cooler, all right? So again, real simple, set your white balance. And then you've got all of your tone adjustments. Now, I'm not going to go through the meaning of all of these. You already know these, many of you. I do want to point out that things, particularly like exposure, are not just doing gain up and down. We didn't just borrow the tech or the algorithm from Lightroom in this case. This was actually kind of redesigned specifically to video. So this is functioning like camera exposure. Very subtle changes will make very significant changes to the exposure of your document here. And then, of course, you've got your contrast controls, all right, your highlights. So again, if we want to pull back in a little bit more detail in the clouds there, maybe drop some of those highlights. Shadows, of course. By the way, if you simply make an adjustment and then want to bring it back to 0 or center, just double click on the circle and it'll take you right back to the 0 point there. Adjust the level of black. Again, very quickly, very easily. All right, also raising this kind of gives you a bit more of that lower contrast film aesthetic. Basic corrections, okay? You already know how to do this. You've seen it in Photoshop. You've seen it in Lightroom. Okay, now we're going to come back to this, but I want to just go into creative real quickly, all right? So again, these are challenges. So what I've been most amazed about is seeing what everybody's doing and how they're kind of interpreting this footage. There is no rule. There's no right or wrong. Create something, present something, share something in the Discord. We just want to see what you're doing. Your creativity inspires others' creativity. So here we have a whole series of creative looks, LUTs, and presets. Now, if you just click on the down arrow here, this will kind of give you an idea. This will give you a brief glimpse of all the various presets. Now, this first bank of 12 or 15 or so that has this Fuji with a number and then like Kodak or something like that. So these are all film stock emulation LUTs, display LUTs. This means shot on Fuji Eterna 250D, printed on Fuji 3510. So this is simulating that film-like processing, and these are some of my favorites in here. So you can just choose them individually, or you'll notice that you have this little preview window here directly under Creative and with this little arrow. So this will allow you to scroll through all the various presets. This one is CineSpace. This is not a film LUT. And then you can just start seeing what these are going to look like. And again, as you kind of click through them, now this one doesn't have a super amount of color, but it really does, it really just changes the look and feel of your content super quickly. And again, just to kind of play this back and give you an idea of kind of how this looks. You can also make adjustments while it's playing. We talked about this yesterday with our uninterrupted preview. So if I want to increase the intensity of that film stock LUT or decrease it, see now we're back to kind of digital. Let's bring it back in here. Again, we can add more of that faded film aesthetic on here, kind of giving that lower contrast, warmer feel. Already this kind of feels a little Quentin Tarantino-y to me. Bypass, there's the before. It's beautiful, it's nice, saturated, beautiful green. After, just kind of has that, feels a little more early 70s to me right now, all right? Those kind of muted greens, the way that is. I love that, all right? So again, lots of options here for using preset looks and LUTs, okay? And again, you can scroll through all of them. There are lots. You can modify these. There's some really nice, if you want to do something in monochrome. Somebody had a monochrome submission yesterday that was really, really super cool. All right. So you can apply these as you so desire. And again, I think these all just look really neat. I think you'll enjoy working with them. Okay. So presets. Also worth pointing out, again, you've got your faded film sharpen, vibrance controls here. You know, these work exactly as they do in Lightroom. Be careful, of course, very easy to overdo, but you can see how we're just very quickly able to bring back some of that blue in there and really emphasize the blue cool of the sky. Additional saturation here on the creative side. So you've got two areas where you can increase saturation between basic and creative, all right? So a lot of flexibility, a lot of options here. Oh, and of course, you've got shadow tint and highlight tint and tint balance. This is depending upon how advanced you want to get under the Creative tab. By the way, that stuff can be found under Adjustments here. All of this is non-destructive. Now, this gets a little bit more complex if you want to do multiple layers of color. I wasn't going to show this, but it's worth pointing out because this is one of the unique things that we allow you to do very easily with Lumetri, is that you can stack, like layers, different color looks. So if you twirl down this Lumetri color menu, you'll see that you can add another Lumetri effect. So what that is it's another layer of Lumetri color. So if we want to rename this first one, and we'll call this basic. So maybe we just do corrections. Now, a lot of this footage, because I had to make it small enough for you to download, I had to make some considerations here. So not all of it is flat. Some of it has already got quite a bit of color baked in, but this is going to give you the ability to just tweak about and kind of work with it in a slightly different way. So you might do your basic correction here, things like white balancing and stuff. But then if you add another Lumetri effect, maybe this is where you want to do some stylized looks. So you could add something like experiment with the cine space. By the way, I can bypass this. Now I'm only seeing the basic controls. I can bypass that as well. I can keep basic bypassed. I can go back to our CineSpace version and see what that looks like. So again, you can have multiple layers, multiple stacks of color changes applied very quickly, very easily. And if you go into the effects controls, this is where you can see your various layers of Lumetri that you've applied. Okay? Really simple, really easy to work with. All right, so that's the creative side. Okay, let's go over to something like this. This is another, well, actually here, let me see. Oh, now I was going to show you this one. This is just, again, kind of emphasizing using some of these LUTs. So this was a shot here. This is from shot in Istanbul quite a few years ago. So this is, all of this is, I think this is just a LUT. Yeah, just a preset. I didn't even do any basic correction, but here's the original. And it looks fine. This was shot, I remember, this was done with a 7D and a 70-200 f4, the older Canon 70-200, quite a few years ago, 10 years ago when I shot this. Add that LUT back on there. This one is called, I think, Blue Steel, Blue Cold. And it just changes the whole vibe, the whole look really quickly. And again, I added a little bit of a vignette. That's another module here, which is identical to what you have in Camera Raw and Lightroom. All right, checking out some of your questions in here real quickly before we move on. 9 minutes. Wow, this just goes by so fast. Paula O'Brien, is there a color filter that will dehaze if we filmed without a polarizing filter on a bright day? So that's an amazing question, Paula. So we don't have a dehaze in here as you know it in Lightroom, which is, again, something that's been really, really useful. You can combat that with some of these LUTs. I would recommend checking out some of these SL LUTs. There's some HDR and LDR ones that can kind of act like having one of those filters on your lens. It can take a bit of that edge off and, again, bring back in a lot of the drama and detail. I would check out some of the LUTs and some of the film stock LUTs for that. You can also make those adjustments manually with things like adjusting vibrance, faded film, and the intensity here of those LUTs. But no, we don't have a specific dehaze in here just yet. I know that's on the request list for sure. Okay. Thank you, Emmer. What's up, Paul? Dehaze is awesome. I know, it's such a lifesaver too. I've used it so many times. All right, very cool. Okay, just checking, see if there's more questions here. Emmer Carr, you're under the power already. Thank you so much. Harry Craig, you've only missed 18 minutes. And of course, you can watch the replay immediately after this. Nice. Okay, loving that look, says Howard. Awesome. Okay, so let's move on to another clip here, something a little bit different. Where did I have this one? Oh yeah, this is it. This will do it. Okay, so this is a shot now in Amsterdam. Again, now, second kind of thing I wanted to talk about here in slightly more detail, curves. Again, you know curves from Photoshop. You know how these work. Same curves in After Effects, same curves here in Premiere. Now you've got your basic RGB curves. So again, if we want to do kind of that classic kind of S to kind of make things pop contrast-wise, we can do that here. Double-clicking on those points eliminates them. You've got individual controls over RGB. As you all well know, we're not going to go into this one. This is simple. This is self-explanatory. Now, the one thing that I do want to point out here are these hue saturation curves. Now, these are called selective color. We don't have time to go through all of them here. You can check out some of my previous streams on color here on behance.net/live. Look in the motion section. I've got master classes on working with this specifically. But I'm going to show you two modules here that I think will make your challenges a lot more fun. Hue versus sat and hue versus hue. Essentially what this allows you to do is make selective changes. So let's say that I wanted to pop out just the blue of the sky. Just really kind of emphasize that blue. Well, I can take the eyedropper here. I can select an area of blue, kind of a mid-range blue. And when I do that, it's going to locate with a center point that exact hue that I want to make a change to. Hue versus sat means adjust the saturation of that particular selected hue. Now, if I want to constrain, it gives you 3 control points, but I only want to affect that center point. I'm going to hold down my Shift key, and you'll see that now as I increase this, it's only touching those blues. And if you look at the line here, what I love about the UI is it shows you above the line, more blue. South of the line, below the line, we're desaturating the blue, right? Because we're working with saturation, but only the blues. So we can get rid of the blue, turn that sky gray, but all the other colors remain. Red remains, orange remain, etc. You can widen the range here. There's so much power and flexibility in this filter, I can't even emphasize. It's awesome. But what about this one, hue versus hue? So now that you've made an adjustment, what if you want to adjust the hue of an existing hue? So once again, I can come over with my eyedropper, I can click in the sky here, it locates the same color, but now when I click on that center point, we don't get a saturation high and low, now we get a hue, not a hue wheel, a hue depiction here, so we can change the actual hue of that sky, right? We can make it more purple, we can turn it greenish blue, etc. And again, if we're not hitting all of the range here, we can widen the range of selection. All right, we can minimize the range of selection as we make those adjustments. Okay, very, very simply, very, very quickly. All right, hue versus sat and hue versus hue, these are super useful. Okay, last thing I'm going to show you here, because we've only got 3 minutes and it goes by so quickly, is color wheels and match. And this is one of those things that I love showing because this is so darn useful. Okay, so what I have here, now I didn't give you these images. I've got a couple images here from Blade Runner because again, it just has a very stylistic look of color, okay? And if I wanted to say just take this existing desert scene and make it look more like this scene from Blade Runner 2049, I'm gonna go to color wheels and match. Now there's no faces in mine. I want to make sure that my clip is selected down below. By the way, how am I getting these reference clips? I just I just dragged some JPEGs into the timeline. Choose your favorite look, choose your favorite film, choose a photo, drag it in the timeline, and then you have a separate scrubber here when you go into the comparison view. That's this button right here. Comparison view will show you a side-by-side. I'm going to navigate to this picture here. I'm going to click on Apply Match, and just like that, Sensei, oh, and I have it turned off, sorry for that. Sensei is going to, what's going on? Why is this? I have to reset everything, sorry. Sensei is going to analyze, this is using our AI technology, it's going to analyze the color and light and hue of your shot and match it to the existing one. And when you do that, you have a side-by-side and horizontal view here that you can use to really compare the looks between those shots. Like this, okay? Now again, it didn't quite get it just right, I think because I mucked up something. I want to kind of cool some of those blues off a bit more in the highlights. So this is not a black box fix. You can manually adjust this very easily, okay, by going to some of your midtones here, maybe blowing out a little bit of the highlight detail like that, and just get a better idea of how this looks before and after, okay? Let's say we wanted to take that other shot, something like this one here. Once again, we'll turn off face detection, turn on apply match, and very quickly it does its thing, allowing us to see those divides and really get those hues dialed in. But where it's really effective is using it on skin tone, okay? So here again, same shot. Here's me wearing my Flern shirt. We've got Aaron Nace coming up later today, and I want to kind of give myself that same kind of look. So again, now I'm going to have face detection enabled, click on apply match. Sensei does its best guess, but now I want to do a side-by-side because I need to pull some of those highlights, kind of need to pull some of those a bit more into the magenta to kind of just warm up those skin tones just a little bit. All right, me and Ryan together here, it's looking pretty good. Now there's not a lot of detail in the sky there, so I may have to be a little bit forgiving for that. Again, maybe I use a little bit of hue versus hue for that one, okay, to kind of bring some of that back in. Maybe I just cool it off ever so slightly. But now this looks pretty good, right? And if I go before, significantly different, after, very close. Again, look at the skin, look at me and Ryan together. Again, maybe I'll readjust some of that contrast in the highlights. All right, to bring it back in just a little bit more, bring back in some of the black, something like that. okay? And I could maybe adjust some of the highlights to kind of blow it out ever so slightly. And now this is looking pretty close. All right, so that is a quick look at color match, selective color with hue versus sat and hue versus hue, as well as RGB curves, creative using LUTs, and basic correction. So my friends, that is all the time we have. I want to remind you again to check out the Discord, bit.ly/PR Discord. This is where the conversation is happening. This is where you're going to want to be to follow along with all the awesome stuff that people are creating. And here I've got about 1 more minute. Let me see if I can pull in. I wanted to show at least one example from yesterday. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get to it. All right, there was one in particular. I got to see if I can find it. Okay, here it is. Okay, so we're going to show this one in the Discord. Hold on, let me open this up. This is from Chris V. Just real quickly in our last couple of seconds here. All right, and I may have to cut. I don't want to get cut off. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. Check out the Discord. Stick around for Paul and the Photoshop Daily Creative Challenge, and we will see you again next time. All right, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.